The crash and the first sight. The night was black, with only the cold light of strange stars above. Captain Ryan Hale's ship cut through the dark like a wounded bird, sparks trailing behind. Alarms screamed inside the cockpit, red lights flashing. He gripped the controls, fighting to keep the ship steady. But the engines were dying. A voice from the computer repeated the same warning. Impact in 20 seconds. Ryan looked through the cracked glass. The planet below was a blur of deep green jungles and glowing rivers. It was beautiful and deadly. There was no choice. He pulled the emergency lever. The ship fell faster, fire swallowing the view. A deafening boom shook the ground as metal tore apart and trees exploded in flame. When Ryan opened his eyes, everything was silent except for the faint crackle of fire. The air smelled strange, sweet and sharp at the same time. He unbuckled himself, pain shooting through his side. The cockpit was gone, ripped open to the night. He stepped out, boots sinking into soft moss that glowed faintly under his feet. The forest around him was alive with whispers, leaves moving without wind, shadows crawling like living things. Ryan looked up. The trees were massive, their trunks wider than houses, their tops lost in mist. Each leaf shimmered with colors that changed as he moved. He felt small, like he had stepped into another world, which, of course he had. A low sound came from the dark. Not a growl, not a hiss, something in between. Ryan turned slowly, heart pounding. From between the glowing trees, figures began to appear. They were tall, much taller than him. Their bodies were lean but strong, skin the color of bronze. They wore armor made from the bones of beasts, polished until they shone in the moonlight. Their eyes glowed gold, bright and unblinking. They moved like predators, silent, smooth, each step sure and measured. Long spears rested in their hands, blades curved and sharp. They spoke in a language Ryan had never heard before, harsh, quick, almost like the snapping of branches. The one at the front was a woman, taller than the others. Her armor was marked with strange symbols, her hair braided with silver feathers. Her gaze locked on Ryan, and he felt a weight in her stare. Ryan raised his hand slowly, showing he had no weapon. The leader spoke a single word. 2 warriors stepped forward, their movements fast and precise. Before Ryan could react, they had his arms behind his back, rope cutting into his wrists. He tried to speak, to explain, but his voice sounded weak in this strange place. The warriors did not answer. They only studied him, their golden eyes cold. Then something strange happened. The leader stepped closer, close enough that Ryan could see her face clearly. Her eyes weren't just gold. They were like molten metal, alive with light. She reached out and touched his cheek with the tip of her spear. For a moment, Ryan thought she might kill him right there, but instead, she lowered the weapon and gave an order. The warriors pulled him forward, leading him away from the crash. Ryan stumbled as they moved through the jungle. The forest seemed to close around them, glowing plants lighting their path. Above, shapes moved in the trees, creatures with too many eyes, watching silently. The air grew warmer, the ground softer, the night sounds louder every step took. Ryan further from the wreck, further from any hope of rescue. Hours seemed to pass. They crossed streams that shimmered with blue light, climbed roots as big as walls. The warriors never slowed, never spoke to him. Ryan's legs ached, his throat dry. Finally, they reached a clearing. In the center stood a tree larger than anything Ryan had ever seen. Its trunk rose like a mountain, glowing faintly from within. Bridges of rope and wood hung between its branches. High above the ground, the leader gave a sharp signal. 2 warriors climbed swiftly, disappearing into the branches. Moments later, lights appeared above, moving in patterns. Ryan realized they were not lights, they were fires, a village built in the trees, glowing like a constellation in the dark. The leader looked at Ryan again, for the first time. Her gaze seemed to soften, but only slightly. She said something to the others, and they began to climb, dragging him with them. Ryan's hands burned against the rough ropes, his body heavy. By the time they reached the village, His arms shook. From exhaustion, the treetop homes were made of wood, bone, and glowing vines. Children peeked out from behind the walls, whispering. Older warriors watched him with hard eyes. The leader led him to a platform in the center of the village. There, an older man waited. His armor was darker, heavier, his eyes sharper. He studied Ryan for a long time, saying nothing. Then he smiled, a thin, dangerous smile. Ryan had no idea if that smile meant he would live or die. The tribe of golden eyes. The older man stepped forward, his steps slow but full of command. He was Chief Araka, leader of the tribe. His armor was not polished like the others. It was scarred, marked by many battles. Around his neck hung the teeth of a massive beast, each one bigger than Ryan's finger. He circled Ryan like a hunter studying prey. The golden eyes never left Ryan's face. The leader of the warriors, the tall woman who had captured Ryan, spoke quickly to Araka, her voice sharp and steady. Ryan didn't understand the words, but he could feel their meaning. She was explaining who he was, where they found him. Araka's gaze flicked to the direction of the crash, then back to Ryan. His expression did not change. With a gesture, he gave an order. The warriors pushed Ryan toward a wooden cage hanging from one of the high platforms. Inside, the air was warm and smelled of smoke. From here, Ryan could see almost the whole village. The houses were built high, linked by swaying rope bridges. Fires burned in deep bowls, casting gold light across the faces of the warriors. They moved like shadows, silent but watchful. Children carried water in jars made from hollowed fruit. Women sharpened bone blades with slow, careful strokes. Ryan's mind raced. He had survived the crash, but for how long? He didn't know if these people would kill him, trade him, or simply leave him to rot. All he knew was that they were not ordinary. Their movements, their eyes, their weapons, everything about them spoke of danger and discipline. Hours passed. The night deepened. The strange forest noises outside mixed with the low voices of the tribe. Ryan tried to rest, but sleep wouldn't come. Every sound made him flinch. Every shadow seemed to move. Before dawn, the tall warrior woman returned. She unlocked the cage and motioned for him to follow. Her name, he would later learn, was Sira. She led him through the village, past curious eyes and guarded whispers. At the far side of the giant tree, they came to a platform where several warriors waited. Laid out before them were items: a spear, a length of vine rope, and a small carved mask. Sira pointed to the spear, then to Ryan. Her meaning was clear. "Pick it up." Ryan hesitated. The spear was heavier than he expected, perfectly balanced. The warriors watched closely, their expressions unreadable. One of them barked a word, and suddenly a large cage was lowered from above. Inside was a beast, something between a cat and a reptile. Its body covered in dark scales. Its eyes glowed faint red, and its mouth was full of needle-like teeth. The cage door opened. The beast leaped forward with frightening speed. Ryan's instincts took over. He sidestepped, using the spear to keep the creature at a distance. The warriors shouted, not in fear, but in excitement. The beast lunged again, claws swiping. Ryan aimed low, striking its side. It let out a shriek and retreated, circling him. When it leapt once more, Ryan used its momentum against it, driving the spear into the wooden floor beside its head. The beast froze, then backed away, defeated. Silence followed. The warriors exchanged looks. This strange sky man had survived. Sira stepped forward, her expression still hard, but her eyes softer. Maybe. She took the spear from him, nodded once, and handed it to another warrior. Ryan's arms trembled from the fight, but deep inside, he felt something he hadn't since the crash, a small spark of pride. They led him deeper into the village. Here, he saw more of their life. Warriors training with heavy weapons, hunters returning with massive kills carried between them, children practicing jumps from one platform to another. No one was lazy here, no one weak. It was a world of strength and survival. At the center of the village, They brought him before Araka again. The chief spoke slowly this time, as if testing if Ryan could understand. Ryan caught a few repeated sounds. One of them was star, another was man. It was the first. Moment he realized they had a name for him. He didn't yet know the weight of that name, but he could feel it was important. That night, Ryan was not put back in the cage. Instead, they gave him a small platform with a woven mat. A sign, maybe, that they saw him differently now. But as he lay under the strange glowing leaves, Ryan's mind was not calm. He had seen something in Araka's eyes, a mix of curiosity and caution. It was the look of someone who saw a tool, or a threat, and Ryan couldn't yet tell which one he was. The sun rose over the treetop village, turning the glowing leaves into rivers of gold. Ryan woke to the sound of drums, slow and deep. Like the heartbeat of the forest itself, Sira appeared at the edge of his platform, her golden eyes fixed on him. She said something sharp in her language and gestured for him to follow. Ryan didn't argue. He had learned quickly that ignoring her tone was a mistake. They crossed swaying rope bridges, the air thick with the smell of smoke and strange spices. Warriors stood waiting in a wide open space built between the largest branches. They carried weapons of bone and stone, but their posture told Ryan they didn't need metal to kill. Araka was there too, watching from a carved seat of dark wood. When Ryan arrived, the chief spoke a single word, and the warriors formed a circle around him. Sira placed a spear in his hands, its shaft smooth and warm from use. A young warrior stepped forward from the crowd, his eyes narrow with challenge. The fight began without warning. The warrior lunged fast, the spear a blur. Ryan barely blocked. In time, his arms shaking from the force, they traded strikes, wood clashing with wood. Each blow sent shocks through Ryan's body. The crowd watched in silence, their eyes bright. The young warrior spun his spear low, trying to sweep Ryan's legs. Ryan jumped back, nearly slipping off the edge of the platform. A quick thrust from his own spear caught the other man off balance. The fight ended with the young warrior on his knees, Ryan breathing hard, sweat stinging his eyes. The warriors murmured among themselves. Ryan couldn't understand the words, but the tone was clear. They had not expected him to win. Araka stood, his face unreadable. He gave another order, and Ryan was led away again. Deeper into the forest, they walked for hours, leaving the safety of the village. The trees grew darker here, the air heavy and damp. Shadows seemed to move. Just outside his vision, at last they stopped before a narrow gorge. A rope bridge stretched across it, swaying in the wind. Far below, black water churned and hissed. One of the warriors pointed to the other side. Ryan understood. This was another test. The rope creaked under his weight as he stepped on. Halfway across, one of the ropes snapped, sending the bridge swinging violently. He clung to the side, heart hammering. Slowly, carefully, he made it to the far end. But there was no time to rest. The warriors pushed him forward, through a thicket of vines that dripped glowing blue liquid. A roar echoed from ahead, low and deep. They came to a clearing where a massive beast waited, a shadow beast, its black fur rippling like smoke, its eyes glowed white, its teeth as long as Ryan's hand. Sira handed him a shorter spear this time. Lighter but sharper, the beast charged. Ryan dodged to the side, the spear grazing its shoulder. It spun with unnatural speed, knocking him to the ground. He rolled away just as its jaws snapped shut where his head had been. The fight was chaos, darting in and out, striking when he could. Each hit seemed to make the beast angrier. Finally, Ryan drove the spear deep into its side. The beast let out a sound like thunder and fell. He stepped back, chest heaving, his hands trembling from the effort. The warriors closed in, touching the beast's body in some kind of ritual. Sira looked at him with an expression he could not read. They returned to the village in silence. That night, Ryan sat near one of the fires. For the first time, a child approached him, offering a piece of roasted meat. He accepted, nodding in thanks. It was a small gesture, but in a place where every eye had been sharp with suspicion. It felt like something more. Later, he overheard two warriors speaking, their voices low. He caught one word, a word he had heard before, and realized it meant prophecy. They glanced at him as they spoke. Ryan didn't know what the prophecy was, but the way they looked at him told him one thing. They thought he might be part of it, and that was either a gift or a death sentence. Asterisk. The air in the treetop village felt different the next morning. The usual sounds of the tribe, the clatter of weapons, the calls of hunters, were quieter. Warriors gathered in tense groups, speaking in quick bursts. Their golden eyes sharp, Ryan noticed Sira standing at the edge of a platform, her gaze fixed far into the forest when she saw him. She didn't speak, she simply motioned for him to follow. They moved quickly across the rope bridges, deeper into the giant trees' shadows. Several scouts joined them, their armor darkened with ash to blend into the jungle. The forest was silent, too silent. No bird calls, no insect hum. Not even the usual rustle of leaves. It was the kind of silence that made the skin crawl. They reached a ridge overlooking a wide clearing. Ryan's breath caught. The ground below was scorched black, the trees torn apart. In the center stood machines, tall skeletal shapes made of black metal. They walked on long legs that bent the wrong way, each step pressing deep holes into the earth. Small flying drones circled them, their lights scanning the ruins. The warriors crouched low, eyes fixed on the intruders. Ryan felt his chest tighten. These weren't animals, and they weren't from this tribe. They were something else entirely. The machines stopped, their heads turning slowly. Ryan followed their gaze and realized they were looking directly at the ridge, even though the warriors hadn't made a sound. Something down there had sensed them. One of the drones rose higher, scanning the treetops. Its light swept over Ryan's face. A sudden hiss from one of the machines broke the stillness. In an instant, a beam of red light cut through the air, burning a line into the ridge just feet from where they crouched. The warriors scattered into the trees without a word. Moving like shadows, Sira grabbed Ryan by the arm and pulled him into the dense undergrowth. They didn't stop until the smell of scorched wood faded. The group huddled together, their breathing heavy but controlled. Sira's voice was low and urgent as she spoke to the others. Ryan caught a few words. One meant enemy, another meant metal. He didn't need translation to understand the fear behind her tone. Back at the village, the council gathered. Araka listened as the scouts described what they saw. Ryan stood to the side, feeling every eye turn to him. He knew those machines, not these exact ones, but the type. They were the kind used by a dangerous off-world faction that stripped planets of their resources, and if they were here, it meant they had tracked something or someone. Ryan thought of the wreckage of his ship. If these machines found it, they could learn where he came from, and that could bring more of them. He stepped forward, trying to speak. His words were clumsy in their language, but he managed to say danger, many, and fight. The warriors murmured, some nodding, some frowning. Arika's eyes narrowed. He spoke slowly, clearly, and Ryan understood enough to catch the meaning. If you bring war here, you will end it here. It wasn't a request. It was a command. That night, the village burned extra fires. Warriors sharpened their blades, fitted new points to their spears, and bound their armor tighter. From his platform, Ryan watched them. This was no simple tribe. This was an army waiting for the right reason to strike. And now it seemed they had one. But in the dark, away from the flames, a single shadow slipped down a rope bridge and vanished into the jungle. Someone was leaving the village, and Ryan had a sinking feeling that whoever it was going to tell the machines exactly where to find them. The night came heavy and restless. The fires in the treetop village burned low, casting long shadows that swayed with the wind. Ryan lay on his platform, unable to sleep. The image of the departing shadow haunted him. Whoever had slipped away could already be leading the machines straight to the tribe. A sudden sound split the quiet, not the rustle of leaves or the call of night creatures, This was sharper, heavier, mechanical. Ryan sat up just as the first beam of red light lanced through the darkness, striking the outer platforms. Wood exploded into splinters. Shouts erupted across the village. Warriors grabbed weapons and charged toward the sound, their golden eyes blazing in the firelight. From the black canopy below, the machines emerged. Metal legs clamped into tree trunks. Climbing like monstrous insects, drones zipped ahead, spraying burning bolts into huts and bridges. One of the rope walkways snapped and fell, taking 2 warriors with it. Ryan grabbed the fallen spear and ran toward the chaos. Sira was already there, moving like lightning, her spear slicing through a drone mid-flight. She didn't look surprised to see him, just shouted a command he didn't understand and pointed toward the central platform. The battle was like nothing Ryan had seen. Warriors leapt from one bridge to another, striking and vanishing into the shadows. The machines were strong, but they were slow to turn. Ryan jabbed the spear into a joint between plates of armor, feeling it sink in before a burst of sparks erupted. The machine staggered, but another beam scorched the wood inches from his head, forcing him back. Through the chaos, Ryan spotted movement on the far side of the village. Not a machine, but a figure, climbing quickly down a rope toward the forest floor. The same shadow from before. Without thinking, Ryan sprinted after them, leaping over a broken section of bridge. He reached the rope and slid down, the fibers burning his hands. The figure hit the ground and ran, vanishing into the undergrowth. Ryan followed, crashing through vines and roots until the glow of fire from the village was far behind. When he caught up, the figure spun, a warrior from the tribe, his face twisted with fear. Ryan didn't know the words to ask why, but his tone said enough. The man spat out something bitter. Ryan caught fragments. Sky man. Curse. Machines. It didn't matter. The warrior lunged, knife flashing. They struggled in the dark, the blade slicing Ryan's sleeve. A sharp knee to the man's stomach gave Ryan just enough space to shove him back. The warrior stumbled, hit his head on a root, and went still. Ryan's chest heaved. In the distance, the village roared with battle. He looked at the unconscious man, then at the glow above the trees. There was no time to drag him back. Ryan grabbed the warrior's knife and ran toward the sound of the fight. When he returned, the battle had shifted. The tribe was holding the machines back, but barely. One of the creatures had reached the central platform. Araka stood there, his spear planted in the wood, his face grim. Ryan didn't hesitate. He climbed the platform supports, leapt onto the machine's back, and drove the stolen knife into the wiring under its armor. The machine shuddered, its lights flickering before it toppled sideways. The warriors roared, a sound of fury and pride, and surged forward. By the time the last machine fell, the night was nearly over. The village was scarred, several platforms burned, but they were still standing. Sira approached Ryan, her face unreadable. She said something to Araka, and for the first time, the chief's eyes softened. If only for a heartbeat, the tribe had seen him fight, not for himself, but for them, and though no one said it, Ryan knew the word they would speak around the fires tonight, brother. The forest beyond the tribe's borders was darker than Ryan had ever seen. Even in daylight, the thick canopy blocked most of the sun, leaving the ground in a dim green twilight. He moved carefully, each step sinking into moss that hissed softly under his boots. Behind him, the sounds of the village faded until there was nothing but the hum of unseen creatures. Somewhere ahead, in the forbidden zone, the enemy camp waited. And with it, Sira. Taken in the chaos of the attack, the forbidden zone felt wrong. The air shimmered faintly, as if it were underwater. Leaves twitched on branches without wind. Every so often, a deep vibration passed through the ground, making his bones ache. Ryan's eyes caught movement above, massive shapes drifting between the trees, their bodies made of translucent crystal. They didn't fly so much as float, their long tendril-like limbs brushing the treetops. One passed directly overhead, and for a moment, Ryan's own reflection shone in its glassy skin before it drifted on. Hours passed. The deeper he went, the stranger the world became. A stream of liquid light wound through the trees, moving faster than any river. Small creatures, shaped like fish but with wings, leapt from it and vanished into the air. Ryan skirted the edge, knowing every step here could draw attention from something far worse than the machines. By nightfall, he saw the first sign of the enemy, a faint red glow seeping between the trees. He crouched low, creeping forward until the camp came into view. It was built in a clearing carved from the forest. The trees scorched into black stumps. Tall machines stood like guards, their legs sunk deep into the earth. At the center, Sira was bound to a metal frame, her armor stripped away. 2 drones circled her slowly, scanning her body with cold blue light. Ryan's pulse hammered. He scanned the camp for a way in, then spotted a section of the perimeter, where the machines' patrols overlapped for just a few seconds. It was enough. He waited, then slipped through. Moving from shadow to shadow, the drones buzzed past, their lights slicing the dark. One passed so close he could hear the hum of its inner workings. He reached Sira without alerting the machines. Her eyes widened when she saw him, but she made no sound. Ryan worked at the bindings, the metal hot under his fingers. Before the last shackle came free, a beam of red light cut through the clearing, striking a tree just behind them. The machines had noticed. There was no choice now but to run. Ryan pulled Sira free, and they dashed toward the edge of the camp. The machines moved fast, their legs crashing through roots and fallen logs. Bolts of burning light seared the air around them. Ryan grabbed Sira's arm and shoved her toward a narrow gap between 2 glowing boulders. The machines were too large to follow, but their drones zipped through, forcing Ryan to smash one out of the air with a rock. They ran until the red light faded behind them. Both of them dropped to their knees in the shelter of a massive tree, whose trunk split into 3 twisting spirals. Sira's breathing was ragged, but her eyes were fierce. She spoke quickly, her words urgent. Ryan caught enough to understand. The machines weren't just here for him. They were here for something buried deep beneath the tribe's territory, something the tribe had protected for generations. The journey back would be harder. The Forbidden's zone didn't like letting people leave on the way. The ground shifted under their feet as if alive. Once, a wall of roots rose from the soil, blocking their path until Ryan hacked through it with Sira's recovered blade. Twice, they heard the machines following, their steps slow but steady, always just far enough to keep pressure on them. When the forest finally began to look familiar, Ryan felt the tension in his shoulders ease, but only a little, because now he knew the war wasn't just about survival. It was about whatever secret the tribe had been keeping. And if the machines wanted it badly enough to risk the Forbidden Zone, it meant the final fight would be bigger than anything they had faced before. The storm rolled in before dawn, not a storm of rain or wind, but of sound, deep, mechanical pulses that shook the treetop platforms. Ryan stood on the central bridge, his spear in one hand, a salvaged enemy rifle slung across his back. Forest below was moving, not the natural sway of branches, but the slow, relentless march of machines pushing through the undergrowth. The air smelled of scorched wood and metal oil. Sira stood beside him, her golden eyes fixed on the horizon. She wore new armor, plates of bone mixed with shards of the machines they had destroyed. Around them, the warriors prepared for the fight in silence, their faces painted with black ash. In the heart of the village, under the great tree, the elders uncovered something Ryan had never seen before, a massive stone disc, carved with glowing lines. Its center pulsed faintly, as if it were alive. Ryan realized instantly, this was what the machines wanted. Sira spoke softly, "Heart of the first sky," her voice almost reverent. She explained it had been here since before the tribe's oldest stories, a gift from star ancestors, and now the machines had come to take it. The first wave hit as the stormlight broke the horizon. Drones poured from the trees in black swarms. Their beams cutting ropes and platforms, Ryan barked orders. Short, simple, and the warriors moved with deadly precision. Archers loosed flaming arrows. Hunters hurled spears with enough force to pierce machine plating. The air filled with the sound of cracking wood and metal screams. A massive walker broke through the tree line. Its body bristled with weapons, its legs crushing roots thicker than a man's waist. Ryan grabbed the rifle from his back and aimed for the joints. The weapon kicked hard, sending blue fire into the machine's knee. It staggered, giving Sierra just enough time to leap from a bridge and drive her spear into its central eye. The walker collapsed with a sound like falling stone, but for every machine that fell, two more pushed forward. Ryan could see the enemy's focus. They were forcing a path straight toward the heart. He shouted for the warriors to fall back. To the central platform, the retreat was brutal, bridges burning, warriors leaping across gaps as beams sliced the air. One by one, they gathered around the heart, forming a wall of bone, muscle, and resolve. Then the ground shook. From the shadows emerged the largest machine yet, a towering shape with 4 clawed legs and a head shaped like a blade. It let out a sound so deep it rattled Ryan's teeth. This was the leader, the one sent to claim the heart. Ryan looked to Sierra, and without words they moved. She darted left, drawing its attention, while Ryan circled behind. The machine's tail-like appendage whipped toward him, missing by inches. He climbed its back, the plating burning his hands, and jammed the rifle barrel into a seam. The blast ripped through its systems. But it wasn't enough. The thing still moved, still fought. Sierra climbed up beside him, her spear glowing faintly from the heart's light. With a single cry, she drove it into the machine's core. The glow spread like fire through its body. Before it erupted in a rain of molten shards, silence followed. The remaining machines froze, their lights dimming, and then, as if bound by one will, they turned and fled into the forest. The tribe erupted in shouts, the sound rolling through the treetops like thunder. Ryan stepped back, chest heaving. Sierra placed a hand on his shoulder and said something he understood without needing translation. "You are one of us." Days later, the village was rebuilt, the scars of battle still fresh but worn with pride. Ryan stood by the heart, watching its slow pulse. He thought of the stars beyond this world, of the life he had before, and realized he no longer wanted to go back. 2 years among the savage tribe had changed him, not just in skill, but in spirit. He had come as a stranger from the sky. Now, he was the brother of the golden eyes, and the forest was his home.